Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I am the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, What's New in Sage 100 version 2024, presented by Monica Boyer. Before we get started with this annual session, let's go over some housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, we encourage you to ask any questions you have throughout the webinar. If you have a question, look for the question section in your GoToWebinar panel, and we're going to answer all those questions at the end of the presentation. We're also recording this presentation, and it will be available tomorrow to all attendees, as well as those who registered but were unable to attend today. And finally, we'd appreciate your participation in our closing poll and survey. With that said, we're thrilled that you've joined us to learn a little bit more about what's new in the latest version of Sage 100. SWK is here to help you fulfill your vision of a smarter and easier way to run your business by providing with tools, support, software, and industry knowledge whenever you need it. So whether you're here to explore Sage 100 or you're just here to learn about the newest version, don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. And as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. So check us out and give us a follow on LinkedIn, Twitter/X, Facebook, and YouTube so you don't miss out. Okay, that's enough for me. I'm going to hand it over to Monica for the main event.
Thanks, Courtney. So as Courtney mentioned, I'm Monica Boyer. I'm a team lead in the Sage 100 practice here at SWK, and we're talking about what's new in Sage 100 2024. So here's our agenda. We have some desktop and global changes to discuss, and then we're going to talk about the changes to various modules such as Accounts Payable, Inventory, Library Master, Paperless Office, and Production Management. As Courtney mentioned, we'll have questions at the end of the session, but if there are further questions after the webinar, please feel free to reach out to your customer account manager or SWK Sage 100 consultant. So up first, there's some changes to the desktop. This resource button has been added to the help menu. So they're kind of streamlining this help menu a little bit. So before there used to be a bunch of buttons here, Sage Community Hub, Knowledge Base, Product Documents page, and Sage University. But this one button is replacing all of those, so you can click that to get to all of those resources that used to be there. The Sage 100 Information Center has updated links to the Resources Center, Customer Portal, and more. So you'll see those across the top, and that's that screen that generally loads first on the right-hand side when you open Sage 100, and you can see each of those links there at the top. I have them circled in red. If you use demo data in Sage 100, which is like Sage's data that they provide with Sage 100 as an example, that has been refreshed to use current industry terms. So if you are using that for testing, you might notice those updates. Also, the allow automatic display of full extended item description. This security task, so you would find it in Library Master, Security, and Role Maintenance. It's been renamed from allow automatic display of item description when not in a grid to allow automatic display of full extended item description to be more concise and self-explanatory. Also, which this is a nice feature, in addition to suppressing it in item maintenance, it now suppresses it in the other areas when the item description is in the primary grid. So if you're entering a sales order and you have the description in your primary or even your secondary grid, sometimes when you tab over, it pops up that item description in your face. Previously, we could stop that from happening in item maintenance, but we could not stop it from happening in like purchase order or sales order. And now that one setting controls that. And I'll show you where that setting is real quick, just so you know. If I go to Library Master, Role Maintenance, I'm just going to choose my role here and go to the Security Options tab. You're going to see that there's something called Allow Automatic Display of Full Extended Item Description. So you would want that turned off so that it doesn't display that description when you're tabbing through your sales order or going down into the secondary grid or something along those lines. Audit reporting. So Sage has changed the audit reporting. Oh, sorry about that. I clicked a slide. Let me go back. There we go. Sorry about that. So Audit reporting has been changed so that you can run those audit reports while you are working in Sage 100, while users are working in Sage 100. So that's important. And then the delete and change utility updates in accounts payable, accounts receivable, and inventory management. The delete and change utilities have been updated. You can now get into the entry areas for the utility, even though data entry is in progress. So previously, if data entry was in progress, you couldn't even get into the screen to enter what you would like to delete and change, delete or change. Now you can get into that screen so that you can identify what you want to delete and change, and then you can run that utility at a later time. So the check that it runs to see if anything is in progress that it needs updated will happen at the point that you try to run it and not before you get into the screen, which is actually very nice. Also, if you ever use these utilities, when you would previously go into these delete and change utilities, delete would be your first tab and change would be your second tab. They've switched that around so that it defaults to the change so that you don't inadvertently delete something. We've had a lot of clients that go in here and they put something into the delete tab thinking they're changing it. So they kind of changed that around for that purpose. Finally, this is a nice one. The search value will no longer be cleared when the operand is changed. And I'm going to show you real quick what that is too. So if we go to run a report, let's say we want to run an AP trial balance. If we put something in here and then we change this to range, for example, it's not going to delete that. I don't know why that just did, but that's where it should be, and I'll look at that a little later on so that it doesn't change that value on you, because when you go to use those, it'll change that value. All right, up next. On the Statistics tab in Vendor Maintenance and Vendor Inquiry, you can now see the date established when you establish this vendor in Sage 100. You can edit the field as long as you have appropriate security to do so. So there is a security task to control that. On the Vendor Maintenance Additional tab, this is a nice one too. I think a lot of clients will use this. A W-9 form on file checkbox has been added so you can track W-9 forms for a vendor. So you can check that checkbox that you actually received the W-9 form from that vendor so that you know that they're tax exempt, and you can kind of track that and do reporting on that. You can also retain a taxpayer ID or social security number for vendors who are not 1099 vendors. So that's, we've seen that before too. Previously, you had to select a 1099 vendor type before you could add in the taxpayer ID or social security number, and then it would calculate 1099 information for that vendor. So if you just want to retain that information for informational purposes, I guess, you can now just put the default form as none, and you can still enter your taxpayer ID or social security number. Two new tasks have been added here in inventory. One is delete warehouses and the other is change warehouses. So on the inventory management utilities menu, you would obviously not be able to have quantities in that warehouse in inventory. But once you remove the quantities from that warehouse, let's say, a warehouse is obsolete, you're no longer using it, you can delete that warehouse, or you could change that warehouse, which is essentially, change the warehouse number or whatever needs to happen there. There is a security option. You'll see enroll maintenance here on this tab, inventory management on the tasks tab under utilities. You can give users access or restrict access to those tasks. A new option called restricted mode has been added in the administrative tools screen. So this is going to be important probably for consultants like me, and if any of you do install your own updates and things like that, you can restrict users from entering the system when you put the system into restricted mode. So you do that into administrative tools. So you have to log in with the administrator login. And when you log in there, you can check the checkbox there on the left-hand side, the green unlock key. To the right of that, you can check that checkbox for restricted mode. When you do that, when a user goes to log in, they'll see in the bottom left there, on the right-hand side, that it says restricted mode is on. If they continue to log in, they'll get the pop-up that's on the right at the top. Restricted mode is currently turned on. You cannot log into Sage 100 until restricted mode is turned off. So this allows you to manage the system so that users don't log back in when maintenance is being performed, such as a product update or something along those lines. There is a way to manage that in security. So you'll notice if you went to Library Master, Security, and Role Maintenance, it's under the Security Options tab under Library Master, and it's that first one there that I circled, Allow Access During Restricted Mode. So you probably would not want to allow access to pretty much anyone during restricted mode, maybe except an admin for the system or something along those lines. In Task Scheduler, so if you're using Task Scheduler to run anything in the system, the job status notification field has been added. So when you schedule your tasks, like you can schedule things, if you don't know what this does, you can schedule things like automatic update of journals and registers, automatically running reports. You could previously do, and you'll see a new feature related to this, but you could schedule the build search index so that it indexed your customers, vendors, and items for that autofill feature. So now you can have it send an email to somebody when it either fails or does not fail, or it's successful. So it'll send an email saying this job ran or this job didn't ran, essentially. You would have to have your emailing information set up in company maintenance and have that working properly so that the system can email, but this would allow it to be sent to somebody so that they could see whether the job ran or failed. Additionally, there's a new process tasks checkbox. You'll see that I circled that on the bottom left. This option provides the flexibility to process all the tasks defined on the Tasks tab, even if one or more tasks fail. So on the Tasks tab up at the top, tab 2, you can assign multiple tasks to run in one job. And so this will allow it to continue to process the rest of the tasks, even if one or more job fails. This one is, I really like this one. This is a new feature, and I think some of you will like it too. This is the autocomplete index, and it allows it to be automatically updated immediately when changes are made to a customer, employee, vendor, GL account, or item. So that used to previously was a utility that had to be run. So let's say you added a new customer. If you hadn't run the utility yet, when you went to type in the customer name, Sage wouldn't recognize it yet because it wasn't in the index for that autofill feature or autocomplete feature. So now with that checked in system configuration, you can have that happen automatically, which is really nice. That system configuration is located in Library Master Setup. All right, a couple changes to Paperless Office. So previously, the report setting that you use to print a report or a period end report wouldn't show in the viewer. So you couldn't tell which report setting you ran. So now in your list, in your report viewer, you'll see that it'll show the report setting as to what was run. On the right-hand side, I really like this feature. When you send a document via electronic delivery, such as a customer invoice or vendor purchase order, a detail button has been added on the screen to see the details about documents sent to customers or vendors. So you could now see which ones failed, which ones didn't fail. Previously, it would say, 100 attempted emails, 98 successful, 2 failed, and you wouldn't know specifically which ones failed unless you went into the viewer to try to figure that out. So now when you're sending them, if you're sending anything electronically, you'll be able to see that right there. And the other thing is this Ignore All Errors checkbox. So this is in Paperless Office setup in form maintenance. You can check this Ignore All Errors checkbox so that it'll continue on to the next email if an email fails for some reason. So that's a nice feature as well. A couple minor changes in production management. This one is the activity code. So an activity code list button has been added in activity code maintenance. And I'll just show you what that does real quick so that you have a little clue if you're using production management. Previously, if you went into activity code maintenance, you would have to scroll through your activity codes. And now there's a flashlight so that you can look up and select which one you would like to go to. So that's all that does is show you what you have already entered in there. Also, if you use the PM cost roll-up register, you can choose to include materials from the bill, the template, or both when you're calculating the cost of the bill. So when you're using PM, you can have materials both in a bill of materials and in the template and marry them together when you create a work ticket. So this is just asking you, if you're running a cost roll-up register to see what it would cost to make something, do you want to include just those materials on the bill, just those items on the template, or both, is essentially what it does. I think you guys are going to like the changes to purchase order. I love this change. I'm going to show it to you after as well, just so that you can kind of get a concept of how it works. It's pretty exciting. So you can now quick close partially received purchase orders. So if you know you're not going to receive anything in again on this PO and you want to complete that PO, you can do so. So the clear back order upon accept checkbox has been added on the lines tab in receipt of goods entry, enabling you to easily close a partially received purchase order. Also, the apply purchase orders button has been added next to the new checkbox, providing you with the flexibility to close any partially received purchase orders that have been applied to the primary order. So this would be the case if you were receiving multiple POs on one receipt. You could identify with that plus button on the right there which POs to clear the back order and complete based on our receipt of goods. Now the purchase order will not complete until you've received the invoice, of course. So if you just receive the goods here, it won't complete, but it will complete upon receipt of that invoice for the same amount that you received in, right? So everything matches except for the quantity ordered, because we said we don't want the back order. In roll maintenance, there is a security feature on the security tab called allow users to clear back ordered quantity and receipt of goods entry to close the feature. So I'm going to show you that in just a second, but I just want to show you one more feature in purchase order before I show that to you. So a new order status of received has been added. So when the purchase orders have been received but not invoiced, the order will now have a status of received instead of back order. So this will correctly reflect the state of the order. You can print orders and reports based on the received status. So if we want to see just purchase orders received, we can see that we can select that option in purchase order printing, the open purchase order report, open orders by item report, open orders by job report, a purchase order recap, open orders by work ticket, purchases clearing in open PO format, and open purchase order work ticket report. That's in production management. So all of those we can choose to just see received if we prefer. So I'm going to show you a little receipt here. So I'm going to go into receipt of goods entry. I previously entered a couple POs just to kind of show you what would happen. So I'm going to take my next receipt number. I'm going to choose my PO that I created, and I'm going to put in an invoice number. So I'm going to go to my lines. I'm going to say I don't want to receive the complete purchase order, and I'm going to receive 40 of these, and I'm going to receive 10 of these. Now let's say that I'm not going to get in the balance of the 10 of those. If I'm not going to get in the 10, I'm receiving 40, but I ordered 50, and I'm never getting in those 10. I'm going to click the box at the bottom here, and I'm going to accept it. Now, because I'm entering the receipt of goods and I'm entering the receipt of goods and the invoice at the same time, and I'm just going to quickly run through these reports because these really have not changed. But because I'm receiving those both in, this should complete that PO and not leave it hanging like it previously would. So previously, if I received less in, that PO would remain in a back order status, and I would have to, do some crazy work to fix it, right? So now if I go back into purchase order entry and go here, you'll see this purchase order has been completed. If I say I want to continue, I can still go here and say I originally ordered 50, but I didn't want to, receive the rest in, obviously. And then I could, of course, bring in my quantity invoiced and all of that. So that's kind of nice. So the second feature that we talked about, if I do a receipt of goods on another PO I have out there, we're going to choose this one. And I'm not going to put an invoice number in. And I'm going to receive, let's say, 8 of these in. And this is a lot or serial item, so we have to put our serial numbers in. And then I'm going to click the checkbox to clear the back order upon receipt. So this should not go into a back order status because I'm saying I'm receiving all I'm going to receive on this, but I have not received the invoice yet. So I'm going to update that. And now when I go into purchase order entry and look at that PO, I'm going to see that that says it's received. And when I go to the lines, you're going to see I received 8 of them. It's not back ordered because it's not expecting me to receive the next 2. And then when I receive the invoice for this purchase order will be completed as well. So let's do that real quick. We'll receive the invoice. And you'll notice that it'll invoice just what you received in because it knows that you're not getting in that balance. And then when I print and post this, that purchase order will be completed. This should help you maintain your purchase order list better, be able to complete those that sometimes were not fully received. There was an option before to automatically do this, like if you partially received a PO, but that would be for every PO across the board. So this allows you to pick and choose which POs you want to complete as a result. We have a lot of clients who have tons of POs out there that are never going to be completed, and they have a real hard time getting those out of there. If you need help getting those out of there, reach out to your Sage 100 consultant. We can help you fix those up and get those into a completed status. But going forward, this should keep it a lot cleaner. So this one, the 95095, is now been completed. Same thing on the lines. I received date, I invoiced date, and it allows it to clear off that purchases clearing as well. Nice feature. All right, so let's go back to our slides. We have a few more things. So return merchandise authorization. What's been added here is if you have multiple sales orders that were invoiced and you're doing a return on that invoice, you can now view the sales order number and the customer purchase order number in the lines tab of your RMA entry. That's that screenshot on the right. Or when you're doing a lookup, you can see that the sales order number says there was multiple for that invoice and the customer PO number. Now, if there were multiple customer PO numbers, the customer PO number in that left screenshot would say multiple as well. I just happen to have the same customer PO number. So if customer PO numbers are different, they would show there. So you're able to see that detail now that you could not see before if you're using RMA. Sales order. So this one's kind of nice too. So there is a setting in sales order options, a new setting called print forms for generated back orders. So if you're bulk printing sales orders, what happens when you bulk print a sales order is you go into sales order printing, and if you hit just the printer icon at the bottom to print it or preview it, it's going to print those orders that have not already been printed. It's tracked with a flag in sales order entry. So that's the right screenshot, that print order flag. So if that is not checked, when you run sales order printing and you're bulk printing all of your sales orders, it'll print all of those sales orders that are not checked, and then it'll check those boxes. So when you invoice a sales order, let's say partially invoice a sales order. When you partially invoice a sales order, you still have to ship the balance of that sales order. So you may want to print that sales order again. So that's what this controls. It'll change the print flag after you update your invoices on those orders that are a back order. It'll uncheck that print order checkbox, so the next time you go to print your orders, it will print with the group if you're doing bulk printing of your orders. Now, if you're quick printing your orders and you're printing them one at a time, one off, it's probably not going to make that much difference. But this is for people who are printing, their sales orders in bulk and sending them out to the warehouse to ship. So that's what'll happen there. It'll automatically change that on back orders. One more thing in sales order, which is really cool. This is a preference that you can change per user. So in user maintenance, library master, security, and then user maintenance, if you choose your user, on the preferences tab, you're going to see a new option called sales ordered quantity in red when. And you have some options there. The options are none, so that means we're not going to print anything in red. Ordered quantity exceeds available quantity. So your quantity available is your quantity on hand, probably less, any sales orders that are out there. And it could be less any work tickets out there or something like that, depending on your settings. So that would be your quantity available, that one that you see on the right-hand side in inventory maintenance. The next one would be ordered quantity exceeds available quantity. So, no, that's not the next one. Order quantity exceeds quantity on hand. So your next option is your quantity on hand. So if you like to see it in red when it exceeds the quantity that you have on hand, that's when you can do that. And then the other one is available quantity lower than your reorder point. So if you're using those reorder points in Sage 100 and your order quantity is lower than that reorder point, it'll show up in red as well. So let me show you that one in the system also. So if we go to sales order entry, and I'm just going to create a new order. Now I set this to be below the quantity available. So if I choose an item code, I'm going to choose my first one, you'll see there's 3 available in this warehouse. Also, if I go to item maintenance, you'll see that there's 10 on hand, there's 7 on sales order, and there's 3 available. So I told it that to show me if the order quantity exceeds the quantity available. The other option would be if the order quantity exceeds that quantity on hand over here. So I said quantity available. So if I put in 15 here and accept that quantity entered, you're going to see that turns red. So that'll give your user an idea, that maybe they don't have in stock what they would like to have in stock to be able to ship this. So there's that feature there. And like I said, you control that in user maintenance. So if I go to library master, user maintenance, that's going to be on our preferences tab over here on the right with your options. Okay. So I think, Courtney, we can open it up to questions.
Awesome, great. We've already had some come in. So if you haven't had a chance to put your question in yet, now is the time. And we're going to have Monica answer all the burning questions you have. And then also in the meantime, we just want to ask a quick poll. So we've gone over some of the, the new features of version 2024. So if you're on an older version, would you like to be contacted about updating your Sage 100 to version 2024? We're going to leave that open for just a few more moments and then dive into any questions. Okay, we'll give it a few more seconds. I'm still seeing some poll activity. Okay, let's get into some questions. So, Monica, one of the questions we had from the audience was, do you see performance issues when enabled update search index is turned on all the time?
No, I have not. It's a pretty quick utility, so I don't think it'll cause performance issues.
Okay, perfect. And then let me check. We've got some hesitators out there in the audience. So if you have any other questions, now is the time. Monica, is there anything, I don't see any other questions coming through at this moment. So is there anything else you just want to touch on real fast before we wrap things up? And I think while some people are getting their questions in.
No, I guess I could say, because I had a question this morning from a client, if you're on an older version than let's say 2023, I think the older What's New sessions are recorded and available on our website so that you can see, because you'll get all the features obviously from the version that you're coming up from. So if you're on 2021, you're going to want to look at the new features 2022, 2023, 2024 to make your decision. Also, we're waiting on a product update for 2024 to be released by Sage. We typically don't install any version until we have the first product update so that they've kind of worked out the bugs. So we're expecting that at any time. So we are proposing upgrades for 2024 if you're ready to go with that.
Great, and yes, that's a great point. On our YouTube channel, we have all the past What's New in Sage 100 questions. So you can, we'll include the YouTube channel link in the email that has this recording, and you can find those other sessions there as well. I do have another question for you, Monica. Are the address fields linked extended beyond 30 characters on transaction entries such as SO, PO, etc.? And does the new Sage 100 support international addresses?
They have not expanded those any further than those. I thought it was 50 characters, but I'll double check that. They have not expanded those any further. They did in a few versions back. I don't know what version this user is on, expand all of those fields to try to accommodate international addresses. So if you're on an older version, I think it was 22, they expanded them, 21 or 22. If you're on an older version than that, they have been expanded, but they have not been expanded in this version.
Okay, great to know. Another question is, sales order bulk printing, can that be a scheduled task to send out all price confirmations at midnight?
No, not in Sage 100. That's not a task that can be scheduled there, unfortunately. Forms are not available yet there. So clients who want to do that usually will purchase Sage Alerts and Workflow, or sometimes it's called Knowledge Sync. And that's a tool that can monitor any database and behave based on certain criteria or react based on certain criteria. So a lot of clients who want to send out sales order confirmations will use Knowledge Sync to do so. And that's something that we support. I'm certified in it. So we can help you with that. Your consultant can help you with that if you're interested in looking at it.
Okay, that's good to know there is a solution. So I'm gonna, extrapolate for just a few more moments here to see if we have any other questions that come in. But I think you're just very thorough, Monica. So I think we're good. And if you, yeah, I mean, it must be all these years of, telling everyone what's new. So if you do think of a question after the session, don't hesitate to reach out to your consultant, your SWK rep. Reach out to us at webinars@swktech.com or info@swktech.com. And I think we have that on the next slide. We will send out this recording tomorrow afternoon. And if you do have a chance to answer in the poll, let us know in the follow-up survey if you want to get some more information about this version or a previous version if you're on an older edition. So thank you all, and thank you, Monica, for a super informative presentation. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.